What was it about Ordinals that captured your attention that you decided to drop everything and move over?
Just the fact that it's NFTs on Bitcoin, that was the first vision for Ordinals at the time. And I thought it was amazing. It was a cool new space, a lot of things to build, a lot of opportunities, and it was on Bitcoin. The first time that I tried Ordinals was with BitcoinPunks. I saw some BitcoinPunks traded on OpenSea, and I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? Aren't these supposed to be traded on Bitcoin or just live on Bitcoin? Why are they on OpenSea? And then I got to learn more about how Emblem Vault worked. It was early February and we didn't really have any kind of platform or marketplace. So we just started by creating a very, very simple tool to verify the listings of Emblem Vault's CoinPunks. So we just started like this and then got hooked with Ordinals. But definitely the thing that it's interesting is that you can finally build stuff on Bitcoin.
Another big episode today. I'm here with Jerry the Martian. This guy has been doing a lot in the space, a little bit behind the curtains, but as of recently has been getting more attention. Jerry was the creator of BRC-721. He's also very involved with DogePunks and Luminex. And Luminex, I think, is kind of what has put your name out there into the forefront. And so we'll dive into all of this, but very excited to host Jerry on his first podcast, so we get to learn a little bit more about himself. So Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's up? Thanks a lot for, inviting me. I'm excited for this. That's, as you said, my first podcast. So let's see how this will go.
And hopefully not the last. I've been fortunate to get a lot of big creators on the shows. Their first one, Leonidas, BitGod, a lot of these guys. So we'll really get to dive into, some of your history and some of the projects that you're really involved. Also, at the time of this recording, you said that you had just had a successful mint out on Luminex. So congratulations on that. I know there's been a lot of news surrounding Luminex, but first and foremost, dude, as this is your first time on a pod, we just got to start with the intro. I know some people hate it, but I got to know, man, Jerry the Martian, man, what were you doing before you dove into Ordinals?
So I still work full time in a big tech company in Europe as a business intelligence engineer. So mostly related with data and, getting insights from data. But actually, since 2017, I'm also like super involved in blockchain overall. So I started investing in Bitcoin, just a few bucks, just to understand what was that about. And then I just fell into the Bitcoin rabbit hole, So I just studied, I was still in university. I just started university actually. So everything that I was doing during my spare time was related to Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto stuff in general. Obviously, like in Bitcoin, you couldn't do really a lot of stuff apart from investing. So we moved to working a bit on Ethereum, just see how DeFi works there, and then NFTs, of course. And we started first investing in NFTs and crypto in general. And then obviously as a builder, I'm speaking about myself and my other friends that are now working on Luminex as well. We started working a bit on NFTs as well. I'm a data person, so was trying to build some kind of machine learning model to estimate the price of NFTs. And, then Ordinals came and we just moved to Ordinals.
What was it about Ordinals that captured your attention? And it seems like you have a very similar path to most of us who came around 2016, 2017 time. There really wasn't much there. That was Ethereum at the time. It was really just kind of an ICO machine, kind of going through its block wars, right? So there was a whole huge culture war that was happening there. And then once DeFi summer pops up, everyone kind of just moves over there, starts experimenting with all these new technologies. And then, of course, Ordinals comes into the scene in 2023. And what was it about Ordinals that captured your attention that you decided to drop everything and move over?
Just the fact that it's NFTs on Bitcoin, that was the first, vision for Ordinals at the time. And I thought it was amazing. It was a cool new space, a lot of things to build, a lot of opportunities, and it was on Bitcoin. So that's the reason actually we decided to just try it at the beginning. So we tried the first time. I think the first time that I tried Ordinals was like with BitcoinPunks. I just saw some BitcoinPunks traded on OpenSea, And I was like, wait a minute, what's happening here? Aren't these supposed to, be traded on Bitcoin or just, live on Bitcoin? Why are they on OpenSea? And then I got to learn more about, Emblem Vault, how Emblem Vault worked. But it was like early February there, and we didn't really had any kind of platform or marketplace. So we just started by creating a very, very simple tool to verify the listings of Emblem Vault's DogePunks, because I mean you had a lot of scams. So we just started like this, and then we just got hooked also with Ordinals as well. But definitely the thing that it's interesting is that you can finally build stuff on Bitcoin, I would say.
Which tool was that you created, the emblem verification tool? I remember there was a handful of them. I didn't know that you were the builder of that.
What's called Ordinals.ship. I don't know if you heard about that.
I think so.
Yeah, that was actually the not even version 1 of Luminex, but Luminex was actually Ordinals.ship, and then we moved to Luminex. But yeah, so basically you actually had a lot of scams on OpenSea because you had to manually verify the listings. So we just built, I mean, we were familiar with OpenSea data. Well, we're just getting OpenSea data and verifying automatically the listings so that you can actually have a real floor price of punks. So that was our first, step on Ordinals.
The emblem legacy contract has just been rife with fraudulent actors, unfortunately. That's why we're actually moving away from it and doing a migration to all these curated collections. But it's a nice little piece of history that I wasn't really aware of. And so then you're inferring that out of all these projects that you are involved in, Luminex, DogePunks, and GBRC 721, Luminex was the first of all of these.
Yeah, actually, yes, this Ordinals.ship was the first one. Then with some other friends, also like coming from Ethereum NFTs, they wanted to launch some kind of collection on Ordinals. Everything was new actually. But following like Bitcoin punks, I would say, we wanted to do like a 10K collection, even though it was quite tough back then. You could only see like a small supply collection in Ordinals, and we wanted to build a big community there. So we just decided like this to create DogePunks. But I will say that the DogePunks launch was done by Luminex, So I managed to combine the two teams to make this first launch. And from there, we just, focused Luminex on building his Launchpad platform. And then DogePunks, managed to develop its own community back from there.
It's one thing I've learned in this space is that if you're able to take two different projects that you're involved in and combine them, generally has very large positive feedback loops to it. A good example is, I was pointing to this out recently, actually, is an Ord.io.
Yeah.
Is an interesting aspect, but I am starting to see this trickle through a lot of it. So like with Ord.io, right? It's like you vote to the top, and then if your project gets to the top, then Leo posts about it, and then even more amplification for attention. Here, you're doing more of amplification of, I guess, technical abilities in those early days. What would you say is what was the biggest takeaway from that Punks launch, where you combined your basically a product and a project together and had a pretty successful outcome from what I remember?
Best takeaway from that. Let me see. Actually, I would say that the best tech doesn't win. I would say, I really thought we had the best tech back then. Maybe not in the short term, more in the long term. Maybe they win. I mean, they coordinate. I really thought with Luminex we had the best tech back then, because it was like self-inscription process, and everything went also quite smooth. We managed to launch all the 10K collection, 10K mints on DogePunks in just a few hours without any problem. And that was, I think, the first time that someone in Ordinals managed to, create something like this. So that's already amazing, I would say. But right after that, it was quite difficult to find a product market fit for Luminex. Even though we had I really think we had like the best tech, it was still difficult until we managed to launch OXBT with BitCode. So I would say it's really tough first to find a product market fit. And if you don't manage to find a product market fit, even if you have the best tech, doesn't mean you will win.
One thing that I have learned dabbling in ordinals, and especially on Bitcoin more so, is that social consensus by far leads the majority of traffic socially and financially. That's why you see these extrapolated network effects of things like Bitmap and BRC-20. And honestly, even kind of like Launchpads are starting to get there too. I'm seeing tons of them kind of surface over the last few weeks, probably because of that successful launch with OXBT. And maybe we'll just dive into Luminex. I know it's gone through a lot over the last, we'll say, 2 months or so. But take us through the early stage of working with BitGod as he was kind of blowing up and went from 0 followers to over 100,000 in a matter of like 2 months. Did he reach out to you guys about this launch, right? Because then you're also doing a launchpad for BRC-20s, where previously you were the DogePunks launch was a launch for an Ordinals or similar to like an NFT. What was the initial conversation and up to that launch like?
Yeah, it was not super easy, I would say, because I think at the beginning, BitGod was mostly focused on launching OXBT with some other launchpad. But we managed to get in touch with him through Jan from Xverse. So I really think also networking with people in the space, it's super, super useful. And I don't think we would be here without any kind of networking. So also shout out to Jan and the Xverse team. But yeah, they definitely got it in touch with BitGod, and we managed to try to understand what he really needed from his launch. And finally, I mean, the requirements were like super crazy, because it seems like we were really launching some kind of rocket ship or something like that. All the security measures that we had to put in place, we really created a whole new infrastructure just for the BitGod launch, just to make sure that everything was fine. Yeah, these are old. We have to update that page.
No worries.
You can check actually luminex.io/mint/bitpiss, which is what we just launched today. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll keep this up for the visualization. But yeah, take us through that. I actually was very, very impressed of Luminex. I do think I have a few tweets out there praising you guys during that OXBT mint. It felt very, very, very smooth. And it also took about an hour, I think, or maybe 30 minutes or so for all of them to mint out. Leading up to it, and as you negotiated, right, you talked with BitGod. What were some of those like initial concerns or like focal points through that negotiation and conversation with BitGod of going to this launchpad?
Yeah, I think that the most important requirement was making sure that the whole infrastructure was protected against DDoS attack. Because what we were seeing from the other launchpads in the past few weeks before the launch, all of them were getting like DDoSed. And so the mint was like not the best experience. So I would say that really the biggest requirement was related to DDoS protection and making sure that we could handle all the demand. But also, we really created a whole new system to make sure that the OXBTs were actually inscribed and transferred right after a user click mint, which is not usually what it happens right now with launchpads or BRC-20 launchpads. And yeah, I mean, I would say that this is the best security system that we can have for our users, just making sure that they can receive their BRC-20 right away, and then they can just trade it on Unisat or whatever they want. So we really created like this whole new system in just a few days for the Bit team. And still they weren't like super sure they wanted to launch with us yet, even though we really created the whole new system. But in the end, I mean, we managed to negotiate with them and confirm the launch,
Yeah. And then leading up to that day of that launch, I believe there was about 35,000 who ended up claiming something, at least 35,000 different wallets, which I'm trying to pull up here. How do you feel, or how does the Luminex team feel that mint went on that day towards late May?
So we didn't sleep for 2 days. I would say the whole team didn't sleep for 48 hours, because that was a crazy mint. I mean, we never had something like that. Like the amount of tickets and the amount of engagement that we had from the users. We had to reply. Everyone in the team had to reply to all the tickets. It was like 1,000 tickets during the night. I remember I remained awake until 8 a.m. And then I had to go to work at like 9:30 a.m. in the morning. I was like a zombie going around. But that was definitely amazing. I mean, we were really grateful for that. And we know that after that, everyone was looking for Luminex as a launchpad. And here we are. We launched all the other most hyped BRC-20 for now, MXRC, PSET, BTOC from Gojira last 10 days. So, I mean, we're really grateful for this. We managed to improve a lot our system as well to make sure we don't have to handle like 1,000 tickets every time and don't sleep for 2 days. But definitely, I mean, the team is amazing. Never had such a good team, I would say. We just recently met in Europe, the whole team, because actually the whole team is spread away across the world. So I feel like the team is amazing. We can really build some good stuff, and we're already like thinking about good things that we can release in the future in Ordinals. And also I think that we are innovating, also related to, maybe we'll discuss this later, but since I released the GBRC 721, now with the recursive inscription coming, we actually looking for the best recursive inscription standard to make sure that images are well rendered and they are super efficient, so that we can actually propose this to our collection and make sure that the collections that launch on Luminex will be high quality collections using the best recursive inscription technology, and bring innovation overall to the Ordinals ecosystem.
Yeah, GBRC 721 was really a precursor to recursive inscriptions. So you were really ahead of the curve on that. But sticking to Luminex for now, you have this very successful launch that happened with OXBT. Then you got this next hyped mint, which, could potentially have been considered just as hyped or more. This one, though, excuse me, on the other end, went the complete other way, at least in terms of how the community viewed it. So before we dive into it, just like as a initial statement, how did you guys feel that it went on the Luminex and team side before going on to the spaces? I believe you were on MySpace, then you went on to TO space afterwards to discuss it.
Yeah.
There's lots of claims of botting and I don't know, some other types of foul play that people may consider, or that they get on kind of their high horse and conspiracy tinfoil hats to claim things that maybe weren't true. But before all that happened, during the mint, how did the team feel about the MXRC Launchpad that had gone on?
Like after the mint, you mean? Like
during it, yeah. Just say take us through leading up to MXRC and during it, before completion, and when Twitter just kind of lost their shit for some reason.
Yeah, I would say that obviously things to improve there, and we managed to improve the system after MXRC as well. I would say that after each launch, we are actually improving this based on the tickets that we receive. We actually managed to improve things, and they get smoother and smoother. But obviously, we were monitoring, before MXRC, we were actually monitoring what other bots, because for everyone that is listening, the fact there was that the mint was super botted, let's say. So actually, even before the mint, we were monitoring some big bots Discord groups that were testing their bots on the whitelist of MXRC. So we spent the whole day, just monitoring these kind of bots, how they were working, what we could do to prevent bots coming to the public mint. So we had some good strategies there. Actually, myself, the team was brainstorming on some strategies, like implementing some kind of delays between mints for the same address, for example. And we didn't really implement that yet, it was the afternoon in Europe. And I was replying in our Discord chat, I was saying, hey guys, make sure that you won't be able to mint right away from the same address. So you will have, I don't know, a delay of 15 seconds or something like that. But everything was not set in stone. And then we saw from one of these big Discord groups, they were saying Luminex team is implementing a delay of 15 seconds. We're going to improve our bot to make sure that this will bypass the delay and stuff like that. So in the end, actually, the team didn't really want to tell me anymore what they were implementing to, block bots. But finally, coming to the public mint, got sold out in 1 minute or something like that. And right after the public mint, everyone was claiming that only bots managed to mint. Actually, it's really difficult to say, because how can you distinguish a bot from a real user? If you have like 60,000, right before the public mint, we had like 60,000 live unique users on the website. And I don't remember exactly the numbers for the allocation of the public mint, but let's say that it's like 10,000 mints. So if you have 60,000 users ready to mint and you only have 10,000 allocation, obviously the public mint will get sold out in just few minutes or seconds. And then after that, you will still have like 50,000 users padding you because they didn't manage to claim, right? And I think that it's mostly what happened there. It's really difficult to say how many bots we had, and I'm sorry for that, but I can't comment on this. From what we saw from our Discord bots groups that we were monitoring, no one of them managed to mint, because we actually change last minute the request API that you have to do to mint. So most of these bots were actually like calling the request API, and they were blocked. The bots that were working most probably was like click and I don't know how they're called, but click and whatever bots, like the most manual bots. But it's really difficult to say which users were bots and were not. Also because like, let's say that if I really want to build the best bots out there, what I will do is like bio-botting. So you just pay some people in a cheap country, click and mint for you. How can you prevent this?
Yeah.
So overall anyway, so we managed to, what happened there in the public mint of MXRC is that our website managed to handle the 60,000 users, and it didn't went down, but the services that we were using, they went down. Like mempool space went down, Xverse Wallet, we were only managing to allowing to mint, through Xverse Wallet, and their API just went down and no one was able to mint in the end. So it was quite tough. But right after that, we really got in touch both with mempool space, and they agreed in, getting us some dedicated servers when we are launching a big mint. And same with Xverse, like they allowed us to, have their dedicated support during our big launches. So we actually tested this, I would say, with BTOC from Gojira. There's the services that like both mempool space and Xverse managed to handle the request fine. And I think that the mint experience was better overall.
When you're in this space, the worst things that you could imagine will likely happen. It's more about what is your mitigation strategy when that does happen. And that's what sets apart the teams that succeed and those who just go to zero and never come back. So I applaud you guys for, standing in there. You got on the spaces, you listen to everybody. I know it's very hard to do that when it's consistent FUD. So, and then on the other side, the MXRC team too has taken some FUD as well, right? And it's kind of a community effort. It's, you could say it's everybody's fault or no one's fault kind of at the same time. But both teams now, between you and the MXRC team, seems to have come together to find your respective strategies moving forward. Just one more kind of point about the botting, or I guess manipulation of these kind of mints. I've seen different claims about ways to do this. And I think some of it comes down to this like deposit address strategy, where somebody could send in, let's say, 1 Bitcoin, and then they could go to Uniswap, go open up 15 to 20 wallets, individual ones, and then just keep kind of pasting in those addresses and doing it. Or on the other side, I think the other botting strategy is to just go open up a bunch of VMs on a computer. So essentially you have a bunch of different IP addresses. Do you guys take into account this type of stuff? And then also with this like invoice and this option, how come a Hero or Uniset isn't integrated into that as well? Is there like a partnership, or is there some sort of technical reason behind that?
Actually, right now we also have Uniset. We have integrated Uniset recently, but yeah, obviously for the BitGod launch, since Xverse, Jan from Xverse managed to get in touch with him, it was kind of a partnership with Xverse. We wanted to make sure that Xverse as well managed to get some new users from the launch. So definitely that was some kind of partnership there. But right now, I mean, we also have Uniset. We didn't want to implement Uniset before also because they're using the same address, both as payment and receive of ordinals, so a taproot address. And we saw on our side that there are more bugs and more risk to lose your ordinals using this kind of strategy. But so we found our workaround, which is basically you connect with Unit and you generate a deposit address, and then you can use that deposit address to mint.
And so then about this like invoice strategy, it seems like there's like most of the botting stuff surrounds this kind of deposit address, at least from the things that I've seen. How does the Luminex team view this, right? It's a benefit because you don't have, if somebody wants to or doesn't have Xverse or Uniset, it's tough to force them to use these two types of wallets, right? Because you want to be a little bit more decentralized. Mm-hmm. Then on the other side with the deposit address like this, right? Because you're just pasting in addresses, it is prone to manipulation. How does Luminex combat, I guess, botting or fraudulent behavior with this idea of surrounding these like deposit address?
So from the bots that we saw, they were mostly using Xverse, but regarding the invoice address, I'm not completely sure which kind of measures we have there. What I'm thinking right now, some quick measures would be like put a mint limit on the invoice deposit address. Yeah, maybe that's something that we want to do. But apart from that, I mean, regarding bots, we have a lot of different botting like the standard prevention system are all in place, like API rate limits, CAPTCHAs, Cloudflare. We monitor which kind of IP addresses are coming to the website so that we make sure that they're not some kind of servers and this kind of stuff. But also we're thinking about some more long-term solutions that we can put in place there to make sure that bots are not, coming anymore.
Yeah, if you take one recommendation for me to prevent bots,
sure,
it would be putting a mint limit on the deposit address, because from what I see, that's kind of where a lot of those botting strategies surround.
Yeah, sure, I will take that to the team.
Cool. And I guess then for Luminex, like what's next? It's a Launchpad, right? It's pretty simple. It's kind of white glove service. Probably a lot of teams that come to you need some assistance from whether it's technical reasons or they just need to get it out there. Is there any development on the Luminex side of maybe growing out some more features or different strategies that Luminex becomes more than just this kind of like token launchpad of sorts? Or is it or are you keeping it familiar to just that?
Yeah, so the first goal of Luminex, I don't know if you know coinlist.co.
Yep.
So our goal was to become like some kind of coin list for ordinals. So CoinList is this big launchpad in the crypto space. I think they launched Solana or some kind of big cryptocurrency. And they basically they managed to build this kind of trust between, it's BRC-20.luminex.io mint. Yeah.
Okay.
The CoinList managed to build this kind of trust between the community and the projects. So the community knows, like users of CoinList knows that everything that is launching on Luminex will be big, basically. And that's something that you don't want to miss out. So we basically wanted to create this kind of same trust with Luminex. So making sure that, wait, I will send you that.
You're good. Go ahead. Continue.
Making sure that, okay, it's here.
Thanks.
Yeah, making sure that the community knows that the projects we're launching are good. They're vetted by us. We really try to advise and suggest the projects on how we think they can do better, or things they can improve, or things that they can change based, on our experience. We are in the market since months. We know how the market works, what are the current market conditions. So we really try to, help the projects to succeed and select the good projects that we see will do good in the long term. And apart from the Launchpad, I know, as I was saying before, I mean, we're trying to innovate in general when we see the opportunity. Of course, we had some good goals long term, or not really goals, I would say, but things that we want to release long term that we are trying to find the time to work on that. Because of course the Launchpad, like right now, is taking most of our time. We're also improving the Launchpad every week. We have things that we're improving. So we have a lot of ideas overall in the team. If you see our Discord chat, like it's full of stuff there, but we really try to prioritize the things that will bring the most utility in the short term And when we have time, of course, we focus on things that are, fun for us as well. And we think they will be fun for the community.
Yeah, you need a nice balance of excitement, fun, but also innovation as well. As Luminex continues to grow, it becomes the de facto leader in the Launchpad. It also brings a lot of responsibility to your team, right? To not only for bot prevention, but also vetting the right projects to ensure they're not quote unquote rugs or they become some sort of like shill ICO platform. It's something you don't want to go down. And it's the attention on Luminex will only continue to increase as more projects come through because you are kind of that facilitator of attention, but also, right, there's some financial capital that comes with it. So I'm looking forward to following. I've participated in 2 of them so far. I did the OXBT Mint and MXRC one. I've not done anything since, but we'll be following along and trying to participate. But finally, moving on to kind of this last portion, which I'm excited to talk to you about, right, is GBRC 721. This is actually how I found you, was the GBRC 721 launch with, I forget the project was, I think it's down here that was originally, with OrdiBots. It could be something potentially historic, quote unquote, if the recursive in GBRC 721 came to be. Recursive was just implemented, I think, about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks at the time of this recording. You launched this, shit, it had to be, it's over a month ago. So you really kind of front ran the recursive idea. As this is kind of your creation, how did you come to a realization to create something like this, to kind of create this, almost de facto pointer system, but also brings down the costs? And I remember you got a lot of pushback about it. And now, of course, it's become a little bit mainstream. Take us through the process of ideating GBRC 721. Where did the inspiration come from? And just the early days.
Yeah. So actually, I was thinking about how to make things more efficient for the last DogePunks DNA drop. So the DogePunks DNA are new, Ordinals assets, I would say, for the DogePunks ecosystem. And it's mostly similar to an ERC 1155 because there are 4 images and users will have the same image. Like they have to mint the same image multiple times. So I was trying to think of a good way to, making sure that they don't have to spend, like users don't have to spend a lot of money in inscription fees because they actually need to just inscribe one single image, right? So the idea started from, what if I just inscribe the images once and then I have users inscribe a reference to the image? And right after that, it was like really a Friday evening. I usually work in the late night. So I think it was like Friday evening at 1 or 2 a.m. And I was like, okay, but what if this can be expanded to like collections? I can just inscribe the images of the traits and then the actual item, ordinal item, it's a reference to the traits and the attributes that will generate the asset itself. So I actually started like this. That was the first idea. It was Friday evening. And I think that by that Sunday evening, I already released OrdiBots. Like it took me like those weekend, that single weekend, to basically finalize, test, and making sure that the standard could be useful, and I just released like it was like still like Sunday, it was like 1 a.m. I made like this first thread about GBRC 721 on Twitter. And I was like, hey, this is a test. OrdiBots, it actually reduced cost by 55% and the images are still on chain. Because the thing there was like, okay, you can still use BRC 721, which is using IPFS. But we know that in Ordinals, no one like IPFS. We want to have the images on chain. So I basically combined these 2 ideas that I had in mind to build GBRC 721. And I was like, hey, this is a test. It is like saving 55% of block space. So potentially a lot of, cost for the users. And I just went to sleep, actually I just minted like 3 OrdiBots just to test. And I woke up in the morning, it was like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. And I saw that the community just went crazy and they managed to mint all the remaining Gordybots. And I didn't even tell them like how to do that. They just managed to, understand by themselves during the night, mostly Chinese community. So during their morning, how to mint, and they just went crazy and mint them all. So actually, yeah, everything started like this. I actually draw these Ordibots by myself, still at night. It was maybe Saturday night. So Friday night, I had the idea. Saturday was testing. Saturday night, I was like drawing this kind of stuff. Sunday, I think it was mostly resting. And then Sunday night, I released the thread, and people just went crazy. And I thought that this was amazing,
These got up to pretty high too. I think they got up to like 0.15 BTC at some point. I know it's come back down since, but yeah, really dramatic and intense start to begin with. What kind of ramifications do you think GBRC 721 has, or what type of impact will it have, or a lasting impact will it have? And what I mean by that is, you mentioned it saves 55% of the block space, but I also believe in the docs that in order to implement this, the teams have to create some sort of front end, right, to interact with this, to be able to display the images. So it's going to have it. So if this is adopted, it's going to have some infrastructural ramifications as well. So sorry, take us through that.
Yeah. So how this works is that you first inscribe the traits. So you basically do a deploy transaction where you inscribe the images of the traits as base 64. And maybe it's described better in the GitHub. So you first create, if you can open that.
Yep. I'll go back.
Yeah. So you first create a deploy inscription with the base 64 image of your traits. And then you actually, the assets are referencing this deploy inscription with the attributes, the unique attributes that are creating that asset. But still, like if you check the inscription on ordinals.com, for example, you are just going to see a string, like similar to a BRC-20, transfer operation or whatever. It's just a string. So front ends can render the images by getting the deploy script, the traits of the images in the deploy inscription. And like the same week that I released Ordibots, Ordinals Wallet reached out to me because they wanted to implement this. And I just managed to implement this right away. And other Ordisay, which is another marketplace aggregator, for example, and other front ends as well. So actually, if recursive inscriptions didn't come, I think that GBRC 721 was like the next thing for Ordinals collections. Now with recursive, what you can do is you can basically have this same system, like first you inscribe the traits of the images, then you have some kind of deploy inscription of your collection, and finally you have the assets that are referencing the deploy inscription and that have the traits. But with recursive, you can actually render the image directly within the inscription, right? So I think that the next step for GBRC 721, it's not really this version of GBRC 721 that needs an off-chain renderer, but it's basically mutating into a new version, which is using recursive inscription to make sure that you don't even need, a renderer off-chain. Everything will get rendered on-chain. And this is what we're testing right now, and it is working great. I can, if you check my Twitter, I can send to you quickly an example that we are testing with Titan Mecha. You can, the pin post, the pin tweet.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, if you check not the pin tweet, sorry. If you go to Luminex, then
go down.
Yeah, if you go down.
This one.
Yeah, this one. Yeah. This image is on chain within an inscription of 150 bytes, something like this. I will try to send to you. Yeah, this should be. Yeah, let me send to you the Ord.io link.
Yeah, and so this then you're mentioning is the improved version. It's using the improved version of GBRC 721. And do you have a name for it? Is this like GBRC 721A or is it just standardized?
I still need to think about this. Maybe I will just keep GBRC 1. I'm not sure. I just sent you the link in the chat if you want to. Yeah. So if you check the code there, this is the image. And you can right click and save the image. You can drag and drop. You can do whatever. It's just an image. But yeah, so right now we already have this working test. I will have to update the standard, but I think I will just keep it GBRC 721. Let's see. I know that there are some other people working on other similar standards, and shout out to them, to Bob from ICP as well. Is working on this. And actually, I saw this idea came from a combination of GBRC 721 and his standard. So I took a lot from him, and shout out to him for his like amazing ideas.
Yeah, Bob's got some good ideas. I talk with him pretty often about combination of multiple blockchains and innovative ideas. So then this leads us to where we kind of sit today. You know, Luminex is accelerating. DogePunks now has a new type of mint that's coming. You have GBRC 721. Man, how do you take it all in? And you have a day job too. How are you, man? Do you have a thought that, you know, maybe it's time to go into this full time? I mean, you have growing influence into the space. You're now involved with the 3 different types of ideas: the proposal side, the infrastructure side, and the project or collection side. You're literally crossing off everything, the ordinal space. All you need now is just a BRC-20 token yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is that my day job is like not taking to me as much time as before, since I'm in ordinals. I'm like really focusing on ordinals right now, and soon I think I will drop from that day job as well and go full time in ordinals, of course. But yeah, regarding BRC-20, I don't think we have any plans right now for BRC-20s. I'm really afraid of tokens myself, because I saw what happened with the ICO time. You know, everyone was just releasing scams token, and I'm not a fan of tokens overall, but let's see what happens there as well. But
so here, Jerry, let me ask you this then. So then as a builder, right, you're a builder and creator, less on the, I guess, influencer side. How do you view scaling in the ordinal space, right? You have 3 different kind of ideas. You have again, proposal, infrastructure, and collection. They're almost 3 different types of things, right? One is more systems engineering. One is infrastructure, which is similar, you know, to like a traditional business model. And then you have the collection side, which is akin to the attention economy. How do you scale all of these in unison as, I guess, this founder or CEO of these types of different positions in the ordinal ecosystem?
I mean, you must have a good team, a great team in all of these projects. I will say, like, I can't do anything alone. So all of this, I mean, Luminex, DogePunks, GBRC is not really, I mean, it's more something that I'm working on for the space. It's not really something that I'm, you know, focusing on. But both DogePunks and Luminex have 2 great teams that can, you know, work by themselves. I mean, I work with them as well, both of them. But I would say that both of the teams are good. That's what really matters. It's not like I need to be there for everything. So I can trust them in doing what they're doing. Luminex team in particular, like Fusion from Luminex, I think it's the greatest developer I ever saw or worked with. And also the whole team, it's amazing in, you know, managing all the projects and the requests that we have. Same for DogePunks. I mean, we have some good long-term plans there, and the team has a lot of ideas. So I would say that it's not like I'm doing everything by my own. Actually, I'm completely not doing everything by my own. And the teams are one of the biggest, most important thing that you must have, like good team, and that you can trust.
So would you consider yourself the CEO of both of these companies? Is it just
no?
What is the title?
We never discussed this. Actually, I would say I don't think we have a clear structure within both of the projects right now, at least. So no, I wouldn't say that. I'm just co-founder of both of them.
Fantastic. And as we close this out and come to the end of the show, what are your views about the ordinal space and maybe throughout the rest of 2023? Are there any aspects of it that you're looking forward to outside of just the projects that you're working on?
Yeah, a lot. So before recursive inscription, actually, I was like speaking in Twitter space, like even a few months ago, because I mean, recursive inscription, you could do recursive inscription before recursive inscription, you know? What recursive inscription are doing is that you don't need anymore because actually recursive inscription is just a HTTP request to another inscription, right? but you don't have to specify the domain, because the domain is where the Ordinal Explorer, or how you call that, I don't think they have a name right now, that you're using. So if you use ordinals.com, they basically are doing a request API to ordinals.com to the other inscription, and that's a recursive inscription. But you could do this before, and I think I tried already. I mean, I had, like, for GBRC 721, like before recursive, you could actually render on-chain your images, and you could just specify which website you wanted to use to make the request. And that's basically recursive before recursive. But what I was saying, like back then, like a few months ago, is that I could really see how in the future we will have a lot of like different code packages on chain, and people will just start writing, like developing really cool stuff on Bitcoin. And I think the best example for this right now, it's what On-Chain Monkey that I mentioned did. They just inscribed the P3.js package, which basically allow you to, create 3D assets. And now everyone can just, create 3D assets on chain for just a few bucks. And I mean, in the future, I can see like not really smart contracts, but smart codes living on chain, And I know that Danny from On-Chain Monkey is like proposing a new coding language that is inscription aware on Bitcoin. But I mean, I'm not sure if this will start, or so people will start developing on this. But I can see like in the future, a lot of the developers will join, and we will have a lot of new packages, inscription packages on chain. And I mean, that's just amazing. Like starting to build things on chain on Bitcoin, it's just amazing. Ideally, you can build Uniswap on Bitcoin and referencing an Ethereum smart contract. So you really have something that will live there forever. You don't have a domain because it's an inscription, and no one can take it down. So I mean, that's the future. And apart from this, the next big thing, after recursive inscription in the Ordinal stack, I think it's really reinscriptions. Because with reinscriptions, you can build on-chain state on Bitcoin and start building some cool logics on chain, which is like, this is what I'm looking for right now, really. Because I had some other ideas a few months ago that I couldn't really build because I don't have on-chain state. And if you have on-chain state, you can actually build the next version of BRC-20, for example. Because BRC-20 right now, they need an off-chain indexer because you don't have on-chain state, right? I know that the on-chain state for BRC-20 may be huge, so it's not something that we will do at the beginning, at least. But you can build some other good applications, like simple application with on-chain state.
Interesting. And can you just describe what reinscription is? Because I've heard the name a lot. I've never heard anyone actually explain it. From my understanding, and you just correct me, is just the simple idea of being able to inscribe put multiple inscriptions into a single ordinal. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, that's something that you can already do, right? It's not some new tech there. The new tech is that making it easier for applications or inscriptions in this case to actually check the content of each inscription inside a Satoshi, So basically what you're doing there, for example, let's say that, I don't know, what could be a simple application example there. I don't know, you want to start a game, let's say. This game will have to start when the creator of the game click start. I don't know, that's a stupid example. But basically you can have a variable. You can basically inscribe a variable like start game is equal to false in an inscription. And from there that the inscription lives inside the Satoshi number 10, for example. So you actually inscribe the game, and you make sure that the game is referencing this other Satoshi inscription to check what's the variable there, to understand if the game started or not, right? So you check, basically this inscription will get all the inscription inside the Satoshi number 10 and check if the variable start game is true or false. If the last inscription in this Satoshi number 10 has a variable equal to false, then the game doesn't start. Whenever the creator of the game, or actually whoever holds the Satoshi number 10, reinscribe a new variable inside that same Satoshi with start game is equal to true, then the game in the other inscription will actually start.
This is some gigabrain stuff right here, guys. I have to say, I'm excited.
I mean, it's actually simpler what I just described, but basically, let's say that you can reference the same Satoshi with different variables or data, not really variables, data. It will get simpler. Yeah, for sure.
I gotta say, I'm excited. Well, I'm excited to see the future proposals that you may put out, some of the implementations. Jerry, you're a very smart guy. I'm excited to follow you along. I appreciate your contributions to the space. And man, you might need to get some sleep soon, maybe quit your job. So you'll have some extra time on your hands to really take hold of this. But we are in the wild west of days. And I appreciate you for sharing this sliver of an hour on your busy schedule. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the invite. That was amazing.
Welcome anytime. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll catch you next time.